Welcome to Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. So welcome to the panel today. We're doing a cosplay panel today, as you can tell, and I'm joined by some really talented ladies here. To my right, Colleen Cosplay. Then there's Kay Cosplay, and you might recognize Lis Wonder. And also joined by Dania, also known as Hijabi Hooligan. So, would you like to take a moment and talk introduce yourselves and how long you've been cosplaying, what have you? We'll start with you, Colleen.
Hi, I'm Colleen Cosplay. I run the Colleen Cosplay YouTube channel. I went to my first con back in 2012, but I've only been taking cosplay like super seriously and doing the YouTube stuff for the last 3 years. So that's me. I am a disabled cosplayer, so I'm going to be touching on that a little bit today. I have a degenerative cartilage disorder, so I use forearm crutches or a wheelchair to help me depending on the situation. So I'm going to be sharing some of my experiences.
Thank you so much. I'm excited that you were able to come and join us today. I have followed you personally for a while on TikTok before you. I'm excited that I was able to find you elsewhere. Next, we have Kay Cosplay.
Hi, I'm Kay, and I've been cosplaying since around 2011, 2012. I only started attending cons around 2013. And I really only started taking cosplay seriously about 5 years ago. Time has just flown by, so.
Kay is someone else that I also met on TikTok, and she is pretty badass, so... And as many of you know, we know the wonderful and talented Gal Gadot doppelganger herself, Lis Wonder.
Hi, guys. I'm Liz, and I've been cosplaying for 3 years. And my first con was a local con. Actually, my first passion to go to a con was in San Diego. And then I went to a local con, and from there, the bug just hit, and I just started doing cosplay since almost 3 years ago.
Cosplay is pretty addicting, especially when it comes to attending conventions. And I met Liz through the Snyder Cut movement, and as I just said, she's literally a doppelganger for Gal Gadot, as everyone knows. But she also makes a pretty killer Selena. And last but certainly not least is Dania, who I've actually been following her the longest. And that's because almost 6 years ago, she was featured by Think Geek for her absolutely incredible hijabi-clad Captain America cosplay. So, Dania, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi, everyone. My name's Dania. I've been cosplaying for, about 6 years now. My first convention I went to was back in 2013. But then I started taking it more seriously the year after, and it's been crazy. It's been like it's time has flown, and you don't realize how fast it goes.
So, how did you girls each get into cosplay specifically? Like, what made you look at it and decide, you know what, I'm gonna start spending all of my free time and extra cash making a costume and cosplaying as a character?
I guess just like I went to my first convention, fell in love with it. I love the craftsmanship, the sewing, and it's just been something that like has been a huge stress relief. I think a lot of cosplayers just find a lot of comfort in doing cosplay as a hobby, and it's just so helpful like mentally and everything. So I've just really fallen in love with it from there.
I got into it. It's kind of a sad story. I was getting out of an abusive relationship, and a friend of mine dragged me to a local con. My grandpa helped me make this like Riddler cane out of 2 pieces of plywood like the night before. The glue was still drying when we went. And after that, it kind of developed into I really wanted to do Wonder Woman for the Ronald McDonald House and St. Jude's. And it just kind of kind of snowballed from there, and now it's just kind of this acting thing and this just crafting and all of that. It's such a stress relief.
So you dove into cosplay immediately into a pre-con crunch. That's pretty. That would not encourage many people to just jump right in. What about you, Liz? How did you get into it?
So I mean, I didn't even know about cosplay 3 years ago. I wasn't born in the US, so that wasn't a culture that I was raised with. But it wasn't until I went to San Diego for work that I came across what San Diego Comic-Con was. Obviously, I didn't go inside, but it was outside that there's so many people dressed up, having fun, not caring about anything. So I mean, they some of them were like absolutely scandalous, and I'm like these men were wearing Princess Leia outfit and they're just having so much fun. I'm like, this is something I want to do. Like, I want to go to one of these cons and I need to see what's inside. And so that's how it started, and I chose Wonder Woman as my first character. Physically, my dad and my whole family was like, oh my gosh, you remind me of the actress that plays Wonder Woman. And I thought to myself, I mean, what a badass character to cosplay. I mean, she's amazing, and she empowers people and kids. And so I figure out there has to be a way where I can use cosplay to give back, and that's mainly why I started. And I decided to go, screen accurate, like cosplays, and dedicate time to learn about it and develop it more.
That San Diego Comic-Con is a pretty intense place to be introduced to cosplay. For me, I was introduced to it at an anime convention, which is just a really weird. If anyone's been to an anime convention, it's just a really weird place to be. Sometimes.
I love it. I think it's my favorite.
Yeah, they are, and it's very, very. It's relaxed, but also very unique. What about you, Danya?
Conventions, I think.
What'd you say, Danya?
Sorry, you find a lot of really passionate fans at anime conventions. I'll give them that.
Definitely. And how did you get into cosplay?
For me, it was a friend dragged me along. I'd been a fan of it without realizing I was a fan of it, if that makes sense. I'd seen all these cosplayers online when I was younger, and I used to go on DeviantArt and just liking all these pictures and leaving comments about how amazing they were. I never thought it was something, because I'm not originally from England either, so it was not a culture that I was used to. So I didn't know that it was the thing here. And then one day a friend of mine would bring in a cosplay to school and start sewing in front of me during our free periods. And she dragged me along to a convention one day, and I was just obsessed. And I realized this is just, it's insane. It's insanity. People are just running around taking photos of each other and acting out random scenes and just getting into the deepest conversations about things that I didn't even know anyone else knew apart from me. And then the next year I just decided there's this event coming up. It's big, and I want to make a big cosplay for it. And I went for it, and here we are. And then obviously the Captain America thing happened, and I don't know. I think after that, I just decided, I want to make this into something I actually do all the time, and it's been fun.
It's play has a way of really helping you come out of your shell, and also it just kind of gives you you end up learning so much along the way, from makeup, which you can tell I still need to work on, but we're getting there, to styling a wig, to making the actual costume itself. So how do you guys go about choosing a character to cosplay? Do you have to be connected to, and do you feel a connection to the character? Is it just liking the design?
For me, I definitely like it when I feel a connection to the character, but I also do a lot of stuff just for YouTube tutorials. I make costumes for other people. This costume's for my dad, so I'm not even wearing this one. But definitely the connection to the character, I think, is what really makes me fall in love with the costume and want to wear it way more than just once. I have 3 or 4 different Supergirl cosplays at this point. I'll probably cosplay so many versions of her, because I just really love Supergirl, and I love the comics and the story and how she's presented. So that's definitely a big part too, is just feeling a connection to the character.
So I think I'd agree with that, like for me. But a lot of that too is if I just like the design and not necessarily the character, I won't put as much time and money into making the costume accurate. Where if I really love the character and really connect to them, I'll make it as accurate as I can and just have fun with it, fun making it, fun getting it commissioned or whatever. So
Yeah. For me is definitely I don't know. I love to connect with the character because then I can transform fully into the character. So for me, I have to like I love Catwoman, right? And so finally I was like, I need to cosplay Selena. Like she's great. I was watching Hush the other day, like animated movies. I'm a huge fan. And so I was like, it's time that I cosplay her. And so yeah, any cosplays that I do is something I feel passionate about or that I have a connection with. Sometimes I like the suits, but just the character doesn't. Like the show The Boys, a lot of people were like, you should cosplay. There's one that is a brunette that came out, but she's so evil. And I was like, I can't, I don't like her. The suit is awesome, but it's just, I can't do it. So that's just my personal choice, I guess.
For me, it's the same. I really feel like I need to connect with the character to do them, even if they don't look like anything I could do. I'll just put my own spin on it and make it fun. Because I feel like when you connect with the character more, it makes it more fun to cosplay as. You guys know what I mean, right? Like
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
feel so much better about wearing this. Like it makes you feel like them, even if you don't look like them.
Yeah, it makes the transformation from normal everyday person to the character much easier if you feel a connection, and also if you feel a connection to them, you're more likely to kind of like grasp the information and that you learn about them and like lines and quotes and stuff and to it. So then when you're on the con floor, or if you're just like or when doing charity projects, you're more than likely to actually have a few catchphrases in your memory. As
Right.
like for me, I've always, as you can tell, Harley Quinn is a huge character for me. I've always heavily connected to her more than just for being cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but also like her struggles and her strength has always been something big for me. But for me, I am plus sized and disabled, so I am able to exactly do screen accurate cosplays. I, like Dania was saying, I just kind of take the design and things I like about it, whether it be the color scheme or like her Bruce necklace from Birds of Prey, and I put it all together and make a recognizable outfit that is comfortable for me and accessible for me. And so while I dream one day of doing screen accuracy, my alternate universe sort of looks kind of, or I've loved them. I used to pretty much hate them because I would look at lovely screen accurate cosplayers and be like, wow, I want to be just like her. But as always, cosplay is a journey, and loving the character, honestly, is where it all starts. So, Colleen, you mentioned that because due to your disability, you have to do some things for your costume. How does that play into it?
So there are a few different things I do for each costume. There are certain things that are just difficult for me to wear. Something I've been felt really strongly about is incorporating mobility aids into the cosplay. So like for this cosplay, I sew crutch covers so that they match. And as part of the cosplay, there's some ableism out there in the cosplay community. I'm going to be completely honest. And I found that making the mobility aids part of my cosplay made me want to use them because it was part of the costume. I wasn't hiding my crutches, which I think a lot of disabled cosplayers can maybe relate to, of trying to hide your mobility aids, trying to hide your disability, because people are going to point it out. They're going to be like, Supergirl doesn't use crutches. Like, I've seen Supergirl and she's not disabled. So what are you doing, And there's just, I think a lot of, kind of that fear that people are going to, call out on you for not being accurate. And while anyone can cosplay, we really need to think about, does anyone feel welcome cosplaying in this community, and like what we can do to make people feel comfortable? Because like you said, you don't have to be accurate. you can cosplay however you want to in whatever way. You can adapt the cosplays. You can cosplay with your crutches, and that should be completely welcome. But we still have a little bit of work to do so that we're not going out to cons and having people call out like, hey, I don't like Supergirl on crutches. Supergirl's too strong to use crutches, actually. You should not cosplay her anymore. And I'm like, thanks, random stranger at a con, but I'm going to cosplay Supergirl because I love Supergirl. So I think there's still some work to be done with, like, you know, just kind of being welcoming and kind to people who aren't accurate, and also, you know, accessibility, making people feel like they can come to the con. But overall, the cosplay community has been really fantastic. It's a really awesome community. There's just a little bit more work I think we could do.
Most definitely. Personally, when I go to a convention and I do a lot of walking due to a hole, I have a hole in my spine. I use a cane, and sometimes it does get some really weird looks and what have you. I've never been approached based on my disability, Colleen, but like I've been approached for being the fat Harley Quinn. Actually, my first New York Comic-Con, I was bullied so viciously for being a fat Harley Quinn that I didn't touch the costume for 5 years. And
Yeah, we need to work on that, because that's part of, like, Supergirl just brings out all the ableist comments. Like, when I'm Batgirl, they're just like, oh, Batgirl's supposed to be disabled. Like, it's okay. You're perfectly accurate. And then I bring out Supergirl and they're like, no, Supergirl is strong. You know, she's the strongest person. Maybe you're confused and you're Supergirl after she got hit by kryptonite. I'm like, no, I'm Supergirl. Like, and you're Harley,
oh
you
my
know?
God,
Like,
that's crazy. That's insane. They would inject that into your, like, your own story. Okay, I've seen you on TikTok. You've when you were still active on that platform, that you had some trouble with people who were coming, and you always handled it so gracefully. How was that for you, if you feel comfortable discussing it?
I think you just have to keep in mind that, like, nearly all the people saying this, they have no hurtful intent. Like, these people are not coming to a con like, man, I'm gonna make a cosplayer feel awful. Like, no. Most people are just don't know. They don't realize it's rude to walk up to a complete stranger and ask their private medical history. Like, that's just something that people, I think, they're not trying to be mean. All these people love my cosplay and they want to be kind about it. I think it's just seeing the accurate version and seeing, like, on the screen Supergirl and then seeing me, they're just mentally like, wait, I've seen Supergirl on the screen. This person is trying to be Supergirl on the screen and it's not right. And people, like, they're not trying to be hurtful. They're just saying, hey, I've seen Supergirl on the screen and I've seen you and it's not right. It's not connecting for me because it's not accurate. And there just needs to be more education about that. In, you know, the same situation you've had with your Harley cosplay, like, there just needs to be more education about what you can say to a cosplayer, kind of what that cosplay is going through. And I think we're getting there. Like, we're definitely getting better, but there's still some more we could do in just educating people, like, how to approach cosplayers that are not screen accurate.
What about you, Kay?
Well, I never thought I was very graceful about responding to some of those. I just kind of say what's on my mind. I work with people with intellectual disabilities. My brother has autism, and to me, it's like everyone comes to every situation with their own idea of how the conversation or the interaction is going to go. And what I try to do is educate people, like, well, I'm coming at this from this way and I'm listening to you, but you also need to listen to what I'm saying as well. We need to have that kindness and we need to have that acceptance, because there's nothing more empowering than being able to be a character that you admire. And when people say things like Colleen, I'm so heated that people say that, but I've seen that, and people have said, you know, they've made comments about me physically, my body type online. I've been harassed at cons for it and stuff like that, but I don't think people think about it. I think they're so wrapped up in their own minds and their own perceptions that they're not taking that time to be kind and extend that kindness to other people, because two people can go through the same situation and both people come out with completely different ideas of what happened. And that's where communication is so important, and especially in the cosplay community, because you should not be getting approached. Nobody should be getting approached at a con and told that they're not being accurate or they're not. That's like my number one thing. Don't do that. Don't. Yeah. Sorry. Soapbox.
No. 100%. It's so good. It's okay. And like, it's important to talk about these things. Because I know that you are usually a screen accurate cosplayer, but have you ever encountered any challenges in your last 3-year whirlwind journey of being a cosplayer?
Oh, wow. I'm sorry. I don't know if you're talking to Kay or me.
I said, I
years.
said Liz.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yes, definitely. And not just me, but I'm a Latin girl. Okay. So if I see anybody bothering any of my friends, I go all crazy on you. So I am the type of person that's like, what did you like? I am listening to you guys, and I wish I would have been there to I can't. That to me is unacceptable. And my whole time that I spend on social media, because in cons, I haven't experienced things besides sexual harassment. In my case, for my cosplay, people try to grab me a certain way for a picture, or just, because it's Wonder Woman or certain characters that I cosplay that, comics and DC animated movies make them very sexual. And this is something that it's the reality. And a lot of people think because I'm a cosplayer that they have the right to grab my waist or, do certain things that I literally push people off. And when I take a picture, I put my hand in the back a lot of the times, and I keep my distance. So I encountered that. I encounter a lot of comments about my body. They're like, "Oh, you're like Gal Gadot, but thick." It's like, you have legs that it's just very sexualized, and it just feels horrible. And then my friends, a couple of my friends have been bullied in a con, and I've had to like calm them down and just stand up for them and just be there for them. And but there's a lot of toxicity that people don't realize. I spent a lot of hours blocking, reporting, spreading awareness about positivity in the cosplay community. And I was actually pregnant 10 months ago. I had my baby 10 months ago. And then what I do in my cosplay is absolutely separate from my personal life. So it's not like I don't feel obligated to share, my personal life, or I'm pregnant or this and that through my journey. It's something I choose to be very private about. And the amount of comments that I got, because obviously your body changes and this and that, about, it was Wonder Woman 84 promotional times, and it was like fat Wonder Woman or Target Gal Gadot, or it's just like bad. And I don't think people see it because I literally spend so many hours and I can handle it. But I think always about teenagers or kids that follow me. And that's what pushes me to kind of like be an advocate for blocking, reporting, and raising awareness about this type of thing. So actually, a lot. And it's just really bad. And if we all go to the con together, we're just like kick butt, everybody like and I think, Colleen, you're right. We should raise awareness about these things. We should change that. Maybe there should be more awareness. I love that it said cosplaying is not consent. I've been seeing a lot of those posts in cons. This is new, like 2 years ago that I started seeing. And like that, we should like raise awareness, don't criticize a cosplayer, don't come out, don't approach, because people need to be educated on these topics. And it's a shame that they do, but it's a reality we have to face, that cons need to be the ones taking better care of their cosplayers.
Definitely. I've witnessed firsthand the sort of ownership people think they have over screen accurate cosplayers, especially because they feel like you are fulfilling a fantasy. Like, for example, my brother, before he became a dad, he would cosplay very often. He has to get back into it, I told him. But he cosplayed Batman, and we were at New York Comic Con together, and his cosplay is inaccurate 100%. And like Batman's onto the floor, he is swarmed by children and people who are into it, like comic book fans, etc. And if he starts to walk away, like to go do something on his own or enjoy the event, God forbid, everyone gets like, well, you should let us take a picture of you or something. Or there was this one guy who knew that my brother was going to be there and was saying he was going to run after him in his ass because it was he was wearing a Lycra suit, and it's like all this drama, and like he couldn't even go to the ATM on his own without taking pictures, and like, oh, Bruce Wayne is gonna break the ATM. And it was really eye-opening to see the sort of BS that screen accurate cosplayers deal with. And like from then on, I witnessed those who like, no, don't touch me. Like, yeah, we'll take a picture. Don't get too close or something. It's just that some people to think that because they're a fan of the character, they have a certain level of ownership. It's no different than how actors are treated about when they take on a role. Dania, you have a unique perspective given that you are hijab and you have to incorporate that into your cosplays. And so how have you faced these sort of situations with your cosplay? Dania? We can't hear you?
I think her headset fell off.
Oh.
she was using the little...
Yeah.
My bad. Sorry,
No
tried to use my computer audio, not happening. I was saying for me it's a little bit different because with being religious and with dressing the way that I dress, a lot of people are aware that what they say to me can come off as racist and Islamophobic, and a lot of people tend to hide what they say and they'll come at me in private. So a lot of what I've dealt with has been, yeah, and I have not spoken about this much. I don't like to project some, a negative image on the cosplay world, especially because I have a lot of younger people following me. But a lot of what I've dealt with has been more private because of that, because of people's awareness that what they're saying is wrong, but they've refused to keep quiet about it. I've obviously had the general, this character doesn't wear a hijab, this character would be ashamed of you for wearing a religious, garment, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of it is, especially recently, has come from not being a Caucasian British female. And that bothers me a bit. But again, it's something that it's a minority in a much greater kind of whirlpool of people. But I do think it's something, as Colleen said, that we need to bring awareness to, because there is a lot of discrimination still going on, I think, in the cosplay community that I don't really see why it's still there, in this day and age. But it
really doesn't make sense to have this sort of discrimination, especially in nerdy communities, because because like
we're all geeks here. We're all just trying to have fun and bring our favorite characters to life, and and learn something from them. I feel like we've all learned something positive from at least one character we've ever portrayed. And you'd think that a lot of what other fans would learn as well would be things like respect and inclusion and how to care for each other and how to kind of make each other feel more welcome, rather than the opposite, which is to exclude this person for having crutches, and this person for not having the right body, and this person for being religious. Why? There's no need for it.
Exactly, and some people like I've seen. You're not the first person. I know I keep going back to your Captain America cosplay, but that was like the first time I was aware. You think you might have actually been the first time I was aware of the people like hijab changing a character, because like it's something that you don't really hear about so much, and you took the character and you made it your own in a way that made you comfortable, and also went by the rule of your religion and your culture. And I'll pull up a photo really quick for that. But it brought to my attention that there are people who will interpret Captain America, especially different cultures, and people, they don't like that so much, and they end up forgetting that Captain America is literally like the embodiment of acceptance. That's the character himself. And so this was the picture I first saw of you. This was when I first became aware of you, and you came through. That was through Think Geek, which used to be a store for anyone who doesn't know, and they covered you cosplaying as Captain America. And then it got picked up by a lot of sources. Found that if I Google hijab again, you're literally the only thing that comes up. And I honestly, I can't imagine what you must go through when it comes to the privacy aspect of having to go through all like any sort of BS behind the scenes because of like being having a different culture.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
think you do
I'm
have
just
to.
sorry, I'm just balls. I should be more prepared, and I was, but
All good. Me and my mic as well. I was gonna say, I think you do have to have a bit of a thick skin for it. You realize that after a while, when you're putting yourself out there, it does unfortunately come with that. It shouldn't. It should not have to. No one should have to defend themselves for just having fun online and not, especially if they're not hurting anyone. But it is something that happens. But it pushes me more to want to do what I want to do, because I realize that for every 2 people coming at me for, ruining a character, I've got 200 people telling me how much they respect it, how it's inspiring them and their kids and their friends, and it really motivates you, I think.
Right. And it's something I wanted to bring up. We are talking about a few negative experiences that we've encountered, but I don't want to say, especially for the people watching that are like excited to start cosplaying. Cosplaying is amazing. The amount of friends and people that you meet at cons and the amount of emotions that you experience when cosplaying a character, we all met because of cosplay. We're doing this we're raising awareness for things because of cosplay. So I just want you to know, yes, there could be things negative. I think the world is working towards making that go away. We all cosplayers are raising awareness for it. So don't be afraid to try it. Don't think that you're just gonna be bullied or that the cosplay community is negative like that. That happens just at random times. I think I think now it's a little better, and people are more aware of what's going on. So I don't want you guys to be like, oh no, I'm not gonna do it because I'm afraid that this is gonna happen. Like it happens, not super often, but just be aware that it could be something that you will encounter.
It's like anything. Anytime you put yourself in any spotlight, whether it be joining a conversation on Twitter to talk about something you like, but like just presenting yourself as a female in a nerdy community, it's like there will be people who will criticize you, that will try to say something to you, and that's not that's not the main focus of the cosplay community. It's actually mostly people from out of the cosplay community who will say those things.
Right.
I was actually going to talk about that a little bit, if that's okay. especially like right at the beginning when I started was when all the negativity that was directed towards the anime side of things was like really at like an all-time high right around like 2011, 2012 in that time. And I really saw a lot of a lot of it did come from within the community, but over the last, gosh, it's been 10 years now. Over the last 10 years, it has gotten to the point now where it's maybe 5 out of 100 cosplayers are negative.
Mhm.
And the other negative voices are coming from people who don't understand the culture, which is where like a lot of my TikTok videos were directed towards educating people. Because I don't remember who it was. Somebody who followed me on TikTok actually pointed that out. They were like, look at like all of these people, none of them cosplay. None of them know what that's like. So within the community, especially for newer cosplayers who are starting out, find your group. Find 3 or 4 people who are like really strong and be your group, and you will have such a fun experience with cosplay. And because it opens so many doors and it's so exciting.
It really it's an amazing experience to be able to be that character someone, whether it be the screen accurate version or your own interpretation. And the cosplay community itself is actually very accepting. You might have 1 or 2 people that are screen accurate purists who may not like you for doing a different version. But for every 1 or 2 there's like usually a dozen more who are like, yes, do that, compare like add in all of those details, do what you want. And like the people who are going to criticize you are usually the ones outside the community. The community itself, in my experience, has been very welcoming, very loving. I've especially online, I have found more support and camaraderie amongst people online, especially when I can reach a bigger demographic. And it's just it's important to bring up. This is a reality for cosplayer, and also for being especially and who's a fan of these things still. And it's unfortunate that it's still a facet, but it's also important to bring up that it's not anything. Like the part of the journey when it comes to cosplaying is sometimes completely something. And I think you were trying to say something, Dania. Was there anything you wanted to add to that?
All I was going to say was that exactly what you guys were saying. This is why I don't tend to talk about it much. It's not out of fear. It's out of just not wanting to put people off. A lot of people do look to people like us and they're like, you inspired me to start cosplaying. I don't want to scare anyone, because it is a minority, a tiny minority of people that that will come out with comments like these. Majority of the cosplay community is so accepting and so kind and supportive. And for me personally, it was actually a member of the cosplay community that even told me to start up my page. So I wouldn't have even been here if it wasn't for a member of the cosplay community. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Sorry, I just want my computer starts to slow down a tiny bit the longer I'm on a stream. But I wanted to take a moment to show one of your some Instagram accounts, especially. So I wanted to start with Colleen's. Can you see my? Oh, I haven't put it on. Sorry. Oh, there it is. Sorry. Oh, that's trippy. So what initially drew me to seeing Colleen's costume was the fact that she so fearlessly integrates her mobility aids into her cosplay. And I wanted to ask you, so how I noticed there was a point in your journey that you had to start integrating your mobility aids into your costume, and I wanted to ask, so how did you go about accepting that new facet of your life that you had to that you couldn't get away without using the aids?
Yeah, wow, that's a deep question. So I have a progressive disorder, so it wasn't like an accident. I didn't fall or anything and then wake up and have to use mobility aids. It was like a slow, like, oh, my knee hurts. It hurts a little more. I noticed I can't run anymore. I can't, and it was like a very slow progression. And the thing with people that have like just this chronic illness progression is it's really hard to decide when you're going to start using your crutches, because I got by fine yesterday without crutches. It was super painful, but I could do it. So why would I wear crutches tomorrow? And there's just a whole lot of misunderstanding with the chronic illness community, and understanding chronic illness and how, yes, I didn't need crutches yesterday, but I need them today. And I had a super hard time, putting them into my cosplays. Even back when I was just wearing a knee brace, which I feel like is pretty easy to overlook, I had people pointing it out, and that never happened when I was able-bodied. So I kind of have this experience where like I was a cosplayer when I was able-bodied, and I was doing all the same things, all the same cosplays, but I was wearing a knee brace and people were treating me differently. And so I at first was like hiding my mobility aids, and I've seen this done by so many people, and it just breaks my heart. I'll be at a cosplay contest and they'll use a crutch all the way up to the stage, and then they'll just set it down. Don't take it on stage with you. We don't want people to see the disability. We don't want them to see it. It's not right. It's not accurate. I'm just going to leave this. And then they hobble up the stairs, get on stage, and then are like, oh, thank goodness I can have my crutch again. And I'm like, no. No, you need your mobility aids. You need them. I don't care if people think they're ugly, because you need them. Make them part of your costume. I'm not going to leave this off stage. It's beautiful. It matches my Supergirl cosplay. I'm going to take it with me, And I've just been trying to kind of say, like, take your mobility aids with you if you need them. Like, I know it's scary at first. It's absolutely terrifying. The first time I took crutches to work, the day before I didn't, it was terrifying. Everybody was like, hey, why are you using crutches today? Did you fall? And I'm like, no, it just hurts a little bit more and I can't take it anymore. So it's a super scary experience deciding one day that I need to use a wheelchair. I can't take the pain anymore, and I'm gonna finally let myself have the accommodations I've needed for forever but have been scared to use. So just kind of getting over that fear. And then once I found my confidence, which takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of time to get from that, I'm going to hide my crutches under the stage, to I'm going to decorate them with flowers and compete. Like, there's a lot that goes on there mentally to get to that place. But once I got there, I was like, oh, I'm not stopping now. So now I incorporate my mobility aids and everything. And, I do my best to show, like, they're part of the costume, guys. You don't need to leave them behind stage. It's okay. And that's really where Colleen Cosplay came from, was just trying to be that representation that I could not find. There are very few disabled cosplayers with a public platform that I could find on an internet search. So my goal has just been to be that representation, be that person, so people can see, like, she took her crutches on stage for the contest, so maybe I can take mine and I won't have to deal with an awful pain backlash for the next 2 days. So that's really been my story. It's been a long emotional journey of getting comfortable, using my mobility aids and making them part of my cosplay. But now that I've found that confidence, I just want to share it with everyone else.
That's one of the reasons why I instantly started to really started to like your account. So when I found it, was that I saw you not hiding the fact that you needed your mobility aids and that you had disability, and that's not something you always see in, especially like you said, in the cosplay community. And it's really upsetting to hear that there are people who would literally rather hurt themselves than go onto the floor dressed in their costumes.
I mean, that was me when I was younger. I put myself, like, my knees would swell up hugely after each convention because I wasn't willing to take my mobility aids because I was scared people would say mean things. And I think if we just saw more people doing it, saw more people celebrating who they are and their true selves, that maybe some other people would see that and be like, if this person can do it, I can do it too. And I just did not really see those people at my local conventions. I didn't see many mobility aid users. So I just, I think all of us are out there trying to be the representation we had wanted to see.
Sorry, I'm just it's really embarrassing when everything moves slowly. Anyway. So Liz, I've always been so impressed with your work as a cosplayer. You look like Gal Gadot, yes, but you've also been able to transform into all these other characters where you look like the character. You don't look like Liz or Gal Gadot cosplaying that character. And I wanted to ask, so what are some challenges you've had with cosplaying characters that aren't Wonder Woman?
I would say just people like, oh, it's Wonder Woman cosplaying as as Catwoman, or like something. They're just, I mean, I can't change my face. Like that's just, I was born with my face. So like it's something that if I do other cosplays, and since I cosplay Wonder Woman, like it could be a little confusing. They're like, oh my gosh, it's like if we see Gal cosplaying this and that. And so that's one of the challenges. Like, and I have really strong features. Like my eyebrows are strong, my nose, like my lips. And so trying to cosplay is like Bulma, it's just difficult to make those little anime cute little features. I find that a little difficult for me when it comes to makeup, but then there's tricks and tips and things that you could do. And yeah, I mean, I love Harry Potter, Bellatrix. I love, uh, Jean Grey, and there's just things you could do to transform Harley Quinn. And yeah, I don't know.
One I have to say though, one of my favorites that you've cosplayed is Asami Sato from Legend of Korra.
Yay! I love her so much.
I'm a huge Legend of Korra fan, and she fits you so well, and you do her so well. Like I don't think I've seen anyone else so far who has personified Asami as well as you have.
Thank you.
And you look like Asami. You don't look like Gal Gadot cosplay Asami.
Right. I think it's I love, that's why I said like I cosplay characters that I love. And so Asami is someone that since the beginning I was like, she is a badass and she's so cool and pretty and nice to her friends. And it's like all these values that I connect with. And so I love her and I tried my best to transform. I painted like my hairline and got the contacts and some features because I think TikTok also helps you to bring the character to life and create moments that are special to you. So I try to do the mannerisms of the characters that I cosplay, and Asami is one of my favorites for sure. I want to do more of her.
Well, I can't wait to see it, definitely. So Dania, when it comes to cosplaying as a hijabi, one thing that I've absolutely loved from seeing other hijabi cosplayers, yourself included, is how you guys incorporate your hijab as a wig instead. Like with your corpse bride costume look here, I like just love that because you cover your hair. So it's the blue wig in the place of hair. So how do you come to like, how do you design that sort of part of your costume? Like, how do you come to figure out, okay, I'm going to use this for a pigtail or what have you, like when you're using it in the place of hair?
Can I just start off by saying I'm looking at these pictures and I'm like, oh, well, my face wasn't swollen and in pain.
Well, we're like, I'm incredibly grateful that you still came to the panel even after spending time in hospital this week. It's so kind of you.
So glad to be here with you guys. I don't exactly have a process for choosing a character and then like figuring out the hijab situation. Like that one, the Xbox thing, that was just me being silly. I did a similar hijab style for a different character makeup look that I tried, and I just kind of liked it and wanted to do something with it. I don't know. I guess I look for maybe characters with longer hair sometimes, I guess, or maybe with hair that I think has like kind of quirk to it, like if it has like little space buns, or if it has like you know, like a certain fringe done up in a certain way that I think, okay, I can kind of change my hijab to look a little bit like that. Sometimes I prefer characters that just have a hair that's not standard color, like blonde or black or brown. If someone has like green hair, like the Joker or something like that, then I'll use a green hijab to represent that. But otherwise, to be honest, it's never really been a huge factor for me. I just look for characters, like I said, that I really relate to and that I really like the look of, and I just make it happen. Like, if I want to do this character, I'm going to do this character. I don't care if I have to, you know, change a certain aspect to cover up, or, you know, spend that extra few pounds on a new hijab that I don't have in that color. I don't mind. Like, as long as at the end of the day I'm happy with the result, and I'm still maintaining my faith and being respectful, and I'm comfortable, then that's all that matters at the end of the day. And the same goes for everyone and every type of cosplayer out there.
Thank you for sharing that. You know, I've always found alternate like designs for cosplays so fascinating, not just because I do it myself, but it takes courage to change the design even a little bit. And I've always loved to see how the hijabi cosplay side of the community have adapted the cosplays. It's so beautiful, and it takes an extra step of thinking I personally wouldn't think about, because I don't have to in my culture. I don't like have a modesty part of my culture. I don't have that sort of desire to do that. And so it's always interesting to get some insight on it, and to also to explore the different levels. And I was really excited that you decided to join us today, because I don't think there's a lot of people who know about hijabis who can cosplay hijabi themselves as well. Like, those who wear hijab probably don't realize that they can cosplay too. And it's important, another important facet of representation that I was excited to bring together with this panel. So, Kay, something I've always admired with your costumes is that you managed to put together these characters that are either screen accurate or your own design with such a great execution. You always and you seem to be having so much fun while doing it. And so I wanted to ask you, like, so how do you go about deciding between, okay, I'm going to do this character, but I feel like I have to do screen accurate, versus doing an alternate universe sort of look? For example, your your Merida look, which I'm a huge fan of, is completely gorgeous, but it's also, of course, as many can tell, it's not exactly how we know Merida from Disney. So, like, what process that goes behind deciding those types of things?
Well, I initially started off as a closet cosplayer, and I love thrift shopping. I think that cosplay also needs to be a lot more sustainable. I think there's a lot of times we buy the fast fashion, and then we only wear them for a couple of times and then move on to the next one. And Merida was an old prom dress that I had a seamstress friend. She like hacked off the bottom, and I just threw tartan on and grabbed my boyfriend's Aragorn sword, and we just had fun with it. There's not really a process. I am a true Gemini. It completely depends on the day and my mood.
I would not have guessed that Mare started out as a prom dress. That's absolutely, that's one of the things I love. I'm not very good. I can sew, but I'm not very good at sewing. So I love being able to take things that already exist, modify them.
That's how
yeah, there's so much potential like within 'cause I used to do vintage stuff as well. And there's like a lot of like my Peggy Carter was just an old army skirt from the 40s. And I was just like, hey, that fits Peggy. And I threw on a white button up, and she's actually one of the more popular characters I've done. And it was just a t-shirt, or not a t-shirt, a button-up shirt and a green skirt I had in my closet. And it's like, you can find a costume just about anywhere.
So a question for all of you, since as we've been scrolling through your galleries, we've seen a lot of these really amazing photo shoot pictures. So what's the photo shoot experience as a cosplayer like? Like, how does it, like, what goes into that for you? Anyone feel free to jump in.
I think we've all been doing a lot of self photo shoots this last year. Don't want to speak for everyone, but I think it's mostly been self photo shoots. And I've really enjoyed that. It's just hard to, like, if I'm working with another photographer, it has to be wheelchair accessible. So that's been like the big thing for me, is like, I need like a concrete path. I need elevators or whatever. So I've honestly just been happy in my backyard doing self photo shoots on my own, because then I always know it's wheelchair accessible.
What about you, Liz and Kay? As I was just scrolling, I saw some pretty incredible photos there. I do know, Liz, that you have done a lot of self photo shoots this past year. I think we all have, when it comes to shooting our work. So, like, when you guys are doing your photo shoots, like, are you working with other photographers, or what's the experience like for all of you, for any of you?
So I did photography before myself. Like, I'm not, professionally, yes. Like 5 years ago, I actually took pictures of engagements and all that. So I had a nice camera, and I love nature photography. I never thought I would end up doing it on myself. It's like weird. But just, this year, because of COVID and everything that's happening, I pushed myself to create a space for me to be able to do content. And so I got a green screen, my lights and tripod, and decided to experiment with different lights, with different shadow highlights. And it's been really, really fun. And I've taken pictures actually of my friends as well. And now with COVID, I mean, I could wear a mask and you're outdoors. And so I think it's okay. Just don't get up in their face. But yeah, it's just pushed me to, as a photographer as well, learn a lot of things. I'm not good with Photoshop at all. I always play with lights and, colors and things like that. But touching my face and stuff, I'm not that great. So I like use an app on my phone to like remove something or, but other than that, I mean, it's just been fun experiencing that side of cosplay, which is photography as well. And then I work with a couple of close friends. I don't like to venture out into the unknown, just because a lot of people have had negative experiences. I'm not saying you will, but I'm just saying, like, some people, like photographers, sell the pictures, or they just post it, don't tag you, or they take advantage of like situations. And I'm really picky when it comes to work with someone, just because if people see it on my page, they'll go to that person. So I don't want to be an advocate for someone I don't know. So I always take my time to analyze who they are, who they work with. Are they safe? Are they okay? And then I'm like, okay, we work together. But I'm just really, really careful with that. And I'm just very picky.
I'll say I am as well. I actually have just kind of a general rule. I will not shoot with anyone that I am not friends with, or I have not known for a period of time. I think it's just a safety thing. I've been approached at cons by, which I'm sure all of us have, by people, and you just get a weird vibe from them, but they want to do this photo shoot, and you're just like, I don't feel comfortable with that. And you should be able to say that. That is something that you as a cosplayer, you need to be able to say, I am not comfortable shooting with you. And if they fight you on it, walk away, it's not for them. But all of my photo shoots I've done have been with people that I have known for a long time. So it's very safe. Safety is key, I think, with photos.
And
It is incredibly important, is safety. So we are at 11 o'clock, which means that we actually ran out of time. I'm sorry to bring up the photo shoot aspect at the end of the panel. I actually lost track of time because time flies when you're having a really great discussion. And so I want to close us out with telling everyone where we can find you. This is where you can find Dunia and all of her amazing work. And this is where you can find Colleen and her amazing work. And this is where you can find Liz. Usually if it's you type in Lis Wonder, she is the one that will come up. I absolutely love your Yara floor, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
And this is where you can find K. And make sure when you look up K cosplay, it's a K cosplay with a K. And so, ladies, thank you so much for coming and for joining me here on this panel. I know it's an early morning and it kind of sucks to put on a costume at the crack of dawn and everything. But hey, it gave you that real in-person convention feel that
Right.
we've all been missing during the pandemic. So, and thank you so much for helping me spread the awareness of different kinds of cosplayers to the community. I think it's so important to make sure that we make sure that the world of nerds and geeks and fandoms understand that cosplay can come in many shapes, sizes, styles, and forms. And I'm so grateful for you to have joined me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Bye, guys.
Sorry. So that concludes our cosplay panel. And just so you know, the next panel coming up is with Ohio Dave and Victor Koo. I'm so sorry. My brain just left the building. It's with Gonzalo. Victor Koo was unable to join us due to a family situation. I'm so sorry. Anyway, please, if you are willing and able, you can donate to AFSP at the bottom of each panel. And our merchandise store is tagged in every single video, and all merchandise proceeds go to AFSP. Thank you so much for joining us on day 2 of JusticeCon.